Now, we've been talking about the economy this morning, of course, those GDP figures coming out in the next hour or so. Also hearing about fishermen in Yorkshire, about the lobster market and maybe what that tells us about the European economy.
Yes, they're looking to their counterparts in Scotland for help in setting up a lobster hatchery to help boost business. Our reporter Paul Murphy is at Bridlington Harbour and he can tell us more. Very good morning.
Morning, Louise. Let me show you the creature which is worth millions to the economy here in Bridlington every year. Here it is, quite a weight to pick up. This particular consignment is bound for France. I'm told it could well be on a Parisian restaurant table by tomorrow evening, sold as a premium product. And the fishermen here in Bridlington want to build on that success, and they're looking to their colleagues in Scotland to help them construct a lobster hatchery to ensure the long-term sustainability of this harvest. On the quayside at Bridlington, a freshly landed lobster catch. These creatures are the basis of a multi-million-pound economic success story which supports more than 400 local jobs.
For every critter that's caught out there, there's somebody who's got to land it, process it, drive it. There's all the crews on the boats. You've got about 60 odd boats out here, anywhere between 2 and 4 men on each boat.
The industry wants to build on this success. In a corner of the harbour, local fishermen want to develop the East Coast's first lobster hatchery.
The aim is to introduce more juvenile lobsters into the sea, to boost stocks, to protect them against any unforeseen situations, maybe disease or loss of habitat. We are losing habitat because of industrial development at sea, gas and oil, particularly wind farms. We're going to lose habitat because of those, and that's going to affect lobster populations.
And the model for the proposed Bridlington hatchery lies 500 miles to the north in Orkney.
These ones here are probably at least 2 months old now, so they've gone through 5 or 6 molts.
These tiny creatures are lobster hatchlings, small but perfectly formed.
The live lobsters that's landed here, we select out the female lobsters that have got suitable eggs for hatching and hatch them here in the hatchery and then grow them on to a point where they're released back into the wild, which usually takes about 2 months.
The people behind this project wanted to do more than simply breed more lobsters. They knew they had to create an industry which was sustainable for generations to come. And that is perhaps the biggest lesson Bridlington can learn from this Scottish island.
At this time of year there'll be very tiny black eggs on them.
The Orkney hatchery is actually owned by a Yorkshireman. Dennis Gowland has pioneered a method of artificially breeding these creatures. He releases more than 50,000 young lobsters into the wild every year and will soon bring this expertise down to Bridlington.
This helps to keep the fishery commercially viable and allows younger people to come into the industry. It's got a long-term future, particularly in smaller communities where inshore fisheries are quite a large part of it.
The Orkney hatchery has been enormously successful, and there's a lot we can learn from the Orkney fishermen about how they've run that. We're putting a lot of effort into running this hatchery scientifically. We're doing a lot of research on how to make the hatchery work, how to encourage hatchlings, to find the best habitat for them to be introduced into to give the absolute maximum chance of success.
The economic benefits being enjoyed by Orkney's shell fishermen have been closely watched by their Yorkshire colleagues, who now hope to win funding for an East Coast hatchery and get it built within a year. It's a very small harbour here in Bridlington, but it is Europe's #1 lobster port, handling many tonnes of the product every single year. I'm joined by Mike Cohen from the Holderness Fishing Industry Group. What does it tell us about the state of the European economy if they are devouring so many of our Bridlington lobsters?
Yeah, I think Europe is our biggest market, and more than 80% of what we catch is exported there, mainly to France and Spain. And I think it seems to show us that somehow, despite all the economic trouble in Europe, people still want to treat. People still have an appetite for that luxury product. What we have here in the North Sea off the Yorkshire coast is a very high quality product. Cold water produces the very best quality lobster. So we're lucky in having that excellent product to sell, and that seems to have retained its market value.
Yeah, Mike, why does so much of it go abroad? Why aren't we eating more of it in the UK?
I'd love to be able to tell you the answer to that, really. I think there seems to be more of a tradition of eating shellfish in Europe. I'd love to see a better domestic market developing. We're never going to be able to do away with the European market entirely. We have a huge volume of catch here, the biggest shellfish fishery in Europe. We're always going to need that European market, but to see more sold locally would be great. It will reduce transport costs, fuel use. We'd love to see a better domestic market.
Mike Cohen, thank you very much. It's getting busier here on the harbour in Bridlington. It'll be busier still if and when this hatchery is built. Very much an economic success story here. The lobster responsible for supporting many hundreds of jobs in the local economy.
Thank you very much. See you later. Thank you.
Now, she's one of the world's most successful crime writers with 100 million book sales.